And hello, everyone. Welcome to our bi-weekly webinar. I'm so happy to be with you today and to bring our guest speaker to speak about social enterprise. So it is a very important subject that we think needs to be highlighted and needs to be explained. And we've put a lot of work to bring the best speakers that we could, so you will learn and you will understand the subject better, and how you can harness the power of community when you build your social enterprise. So before we jump in, I would like to speak a little about the webinar and how it is going to happen today. And first of all, let's start with some Zoom etiquette. So I would like you to introduce yourself in the chat. We really want to know where are you coming from, what who you are, and what brings you in here. So please introduce yourself in the chat, and we will try to interact with you during the presentation and stay in touch with you. Use Q&A for the questions. We do have a Q&A button on the bottom, so you can click on it and put a question in there. Now, with our speaker today, we will see if we can actually squeeze in some of the questions as we go, and if it is a good fit for the presentation. And I will do my best to do it as well for with you. But please do not wait. Put your question in there, and we will address them as fast as we can. If we are not addressing the questions during the presentation, we will go and answer them at the end. And also, I wanted to remind you that this webinar will be recorded, and as the recording is going to be used for the reference. So anytime you want to come back to this material, or you are curious to learn about our previous webinars, you can always go to our YouTube channel, and we are saving all of our webinars over there. Lots of good stuff there, lots of good material that is available for you. So please utilize it, and like, share, and comment, and we will base our future programs on your feedback. So before we continue, I would like to introduce you to our Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship. That is the organization that is hosting this webinar for you. And it is impossible for us to do what we do without the amazing team that we have in here. And the team is led by Deborah, our executive director. She's overseeing the strategic, and she's helping us on the tactical level. And she's being a very great resource and inspiration for all of us. We have Amy, our event manager, and she's a mastermind behind the complicated process of putting together event and make it flawless and make it pleasant for everyone participating in it. And trust me, it takes lots of work and lots of dedication to make these events look easy. So she is our mastermind behind it, and she does an amazing job doing that. Now, without Lindsay, our marketing coordinator, nobody will know what we are doing and how we are doing this. She is amazing in conveying the messaging for everything we do out there. She is our go-to when we need assistance with any marketing questions, any creative, and she's very good at it. So I don't know how could we operate without her. I will touch a little bit on me later. I am Ben Isaacov and a startup coach with Stu Clark. And Melinda, she is our office administrator, and she takes care of all of the back end processes. And I can assure you that if you do not have a good office administrator helping and supporting you, you will feel the pain right away. Melinda does an amazing job taking care of all of the stuff that supporting our activities, and we are very grateful for her support. So who we are, our purpose is simple. Our mission is to ignite entrepreneurial spirit within every University of Manitoba student, and to empower them in recognition that entrepreneurship can be a valuable career path. So we work hard to demystify and the word entrepreneurship and bring it closer to you and enable you to look at it as a potential career path. So I will play a short video describing us shortly because it will do a better job that I do. Oh, okay, 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 okay. Okay, so sorry for that, folks. We have a technical issue that I'm going to fix right away. And give me one moment and I'll do it again. Okay. Sorry for that. And once again, thank you for my team here helping me out and telling me that there is no sound. So let me just start it over.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship. It's the light bulb moment from your first big idea. It's the decision to set out on a new path. It's the realization that entrepreneurship starts with a spark, and that spark starts here. At the Stu Clark Center, we're here to nurture your ideas and help spark your entrepreneurial spirit. How? How about competitive opportunities to free your inner entrepreneur? Advice from venture coaches who have walked the walk. Or some of the best networking events you'll find on campus. You'll find it all right here. By focusing on education, awareness, community, coaching, and connection, we build strong relationships with our students and do everything we can to help them on their journey to self-starting. At the Stu Clark Center, we thrive when you thrive. No idea is too big or too small. The Stu Clark Center is your one-stop shop for everything you need to start your journey. So why not start today?
Okay, so here was a very nicely done introduction for what we do. And we put a lot of work into our webinars. As I said, you can find all of our webinars on our YouTube channel and watch what we've done in the past. But we put a lot of work into them and wanted you to consider looking into the next ones that are coming up. So we are today on the Building Social Entrepreneurship harnessing the power of community. The next one is going to be navigating the valley of death, and we will have two great panelists speaking about issues of the first stages of the startup and how they overcome it. And I wanted to highlight the next one that's coming in here on April the 3rd, that we are bringing in David Segal, which is the co-founder of David's Tea, and he's going to speak about branding, and he's going to share his experience on how he created an empire around tea in our ecosystem. So please go to our website, check out the upcoming events, and register. I hope you are going to like it. I will not speak a lot about the New Venture Championship. We have one that have a due date today at midnight. You technically still have some time to bring, and submit your application. But if not, I will strongly encourage you to participate in it as a spectator, just coming and watching what it is. So it is 3 days of high energy competition focused on entrepreneurship and innovation. We will have teams that are going to compete with pitching their business plans and video pitches for over $60,000 in cash prizes. And new venture championships are open for grad and other grad students. So please check it out. The information is available on our website as well. You may be able to apply tonight possibilities are endless and everything is possible if you put your effort into it. All you will need is to follow our guidelines for the executive summary, submit it, and we will review it and we'll see if you can get in. So shameless plug about myself in here and what I do. As I said, I'm a startup coach, and I'm helping our startup coach program to happen. So it is a free resource for all of the students, helping them out and getting them into the entrepreneurship and into a startup field. So it is easy to book a one-on-one with me, and you can have as many as you want and need. And I'm helping our students at any stage of the entrepreneurial journey, from the idea to the market. And if you don't have an idea, it is not a problem. We will be able to work with you. And there are a number of different processes on how you can actually find a good business idea and identify it and then pursue it going forward. So all you need to do is you need to go into our website once again, click on the Startup Coach program, register with our system, Startup Tree, and book a one-on-one meeting with me, and then we will continue from there. So that was like a short introduction, and I hope I didn't bore you too much. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our guest speaker today, Matthew Rempel from Strategy Made Simple. Matthew is a social enterprise development coach. He helps to clarify core values and define value that social entrepreneurs bringing to their clients and get them closer to their social goals. He has lots of experience in brand development, online business startups, business planning, and everything strategy related, as you can learn from the name of his company. And he helped dozens and dozens of organizations and individuals through starting or pivoting their business, and to bringing the idea to the market and create sustainable business model that would have a greater impact on the environment and the communities. And he hosts a podcast and YouTube channels with lots of great information. So I will strongly recommend to check him out if you are interested in social entrepreneurship. And without too much of me speaking, I would like to stop sharing and allow you to enjoy Matthew today. So hi, Matthew. So the stage.
Hello, Ben. Thank you. It's great to be here. It's great to have this group and to be part of this webinar with the Asper and Stu Clark Center. And I'm really excited to be able to share about social entrepreneurship and how it fits both entrepreneurship more broadly and with social impact within business models. I just want to check before we go too far. Can everybody see my screen? Ben, if you could just give me a yes, that'd be great. Perfect. Thank you. Everybody else in the audience, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. If they're relevant to what we're talking about at that moment, I've asked Ben to jump in and interrupt. So we're going to make sure we're answering questions as much as possible, because I would love for this to be more interactive so that we can talk with each other where we're at. But today we're going to be talking about social enterprise examples and communities so that you can see what they are and how we use business models to affect social change. So our first example today is going to be Ember's Staffing Solutions. They are a temporary work service that connects people with construction skills with construction companies that need workers on a short-term basis. They were started by Embers, a nonprofit that was working to build employability skills in the Vancouver East Side. So taking people who have barriers to employment and trying to give them an opportunity to use the skills that they already have and apply them to help them get out of homelessness or addictions or other social problems. Now, this is, I think, 15 years after Ember Staffing started. They employ over 2,100 employees over the year, and most of them have barriers to employment and come from some form of community that has chronic barriers to employment, such as Vancouver's downtown east side. things were not always easy for Ember staffing. They hit a low point about 3-4 years into operations where they didn't have enough people going to temporary work sites to be able to sustain the main office that was providing training and employability skills to the workers. They were renting equipment to the workers, but not enough of them kept coming and getting reliable spots to be able to sustain the operations. And it was in the middle of that low period where they were considering shutting down that Marcia Nozick, the CEO and head executive of Embers and Ember Staffing, said, no, we're going to push through. We're going to keep trying. We're going to give it one more year. They hired somebody who was in sales. They hired a salesperson who already had connections in the construction industry, somebody who knew how the industry worked and could connect with the people that were already there, that were already working. And they found that construction is a bit of a closed ecosystem. They needed somebody who already had the connections to start making sales, to start getting placements, to then get to sustainability and now grow to where they are now. This past year, they were able to earn a gross revenue of $13.7 million to be able to put into their operations to continue providing the support that they do to these employees who have barriers to employment and help place those employees into permanent positions as they go on. The founder, Marcia Nozick, actually, I found out while preparing for this presentation, is a U of M distinguished alumni recognized in the last 2 or 3 years. So that was a great connection to the Asper School and to the U of M that I didn't actually know about until I was preparing for this presentation. Now, a lot of people don't really understand at first glance what a social enterprise is. So keep Embers in mind when we're discussing what social enterprise is. And social enterprise exists on a spectrum of organizations. On one side, we have pure nonprofit. They are reliant on government funding or donations, and they use that to fund initiatives or interventions that make a positive social impact. They measure that impact, and then they go back, provide impact reports, annual reports to justify more funding. That's on the blue side. On the green side, we have profit-seeking businesses. These are businesses that are shareholder primacy, revenue first. They are looking to extract as much money as they can based on their business operations, capture as much value, and they're very financially motivated. In the pursuit of that financial motivation, it is possible that they might create harm to society or the environment. Now, as we get closer to the middle, we're approaching social enterprise. But notice that this scale is not, it doesn't have any hard lines. Social enterprise does not have a firm organizational definition in lots of places. So there's some wiggle room about, is it corporate social responsibility? Is it social enterprise? Is it a nonprofit that's happens to be selling some products and services? There's a bit of a gradient there. And so we can find spaces where social enterprises can exist between these extremes. So from the profit-seeking side, we go towards the middle and we get towards corporate social responsibility. They're looking to reduce the negative effects. They're looking to sponsor events and nonprofits that are doing good things. They're often involved in philanthropy. They might have a foundation that they use to offset some of the negative externalities that they create through their business operations. And they might incorporate some socially responsible practices, such as fair wages for employees. That's shifting from profit first to profit and impact. Impact still being secondary to profit, but it's present. It is progress towards social enterprise. On the other side, from a nonprofit that's starting to sell some products and services, we can say they're an enterprising nonprofit. They're generating some earned income through sales, through the market, to be able to support their nonprofit work. This might include some fundraising events, membership fees, or sponsorships from other corporate sponsors. They're looking to take the value that they're providing and package it into a way that's sellable. People can pay for that social value that they're creating. Finally, we get to the middle. Social enterprises are those that own and operate revenue-generating businesses. This doesn't say it has to be for-profit, doesn't have to be nonprofit, could be a co-op. Structure doesn't particularly matter here, but they're using the market as the primary way of funding and creating impact. And the profit generated through the social enterprise is used to grow the business, to grow the impact. Often the impact is embedded within the operations of the social enterprise. So the more business the social enterprise does, the more impact is created. If we go back to the Embers example, the more people they can take from communities that have barriers to employment and give them temporary work, which leads to permanent work, the more people are being employed, the more likely they're able to get out of negative recurring situations. And so the business grows, it hires more people with barriers get employed, and social impact is created in aggregate over time. When we're looking at, is this a nonprofit program or is it a social enterprise? There are some situations where on this chart, you're in the bottom left. There's low social impact, there's low financial contribution. It's not generating lots of money, it's not generating lots of social impact. It's an anchor, it's holding you down, it's preventing you from putting your effort into other better places. If the financial contribution is high, it's making lots of money, but it's not making lots of social impact, it could be a revenue-focused business or a fundraiser if you're a nonprofit. Social impact is high, but revenue is low. That could be a charity. It could be a funded program. If you can find other non-market sources of income, it can still be great for society. It could be great for the environment, but it's not necessarily a good social enterprise idea if it's not generating income through sales. And finally, in the top right, we have situations that are high impact, high revenue. They're great social enterprise candidates. They're potentially self-sustaining through their revenue generation and can therefore continue to affect impact over time without relying on the grant cycle or the politics that come along with that. So now a Manitoba example. The Aki Group, they operate primarily in rural areas, often with reserves or other communities that have been systematically disadvantaged. Aki Energy was the first expression. They install geothermal for housing in northern communities so that housing heating costs can be reduced. There's a pay-as-you-save system that they were able to negotiate with Hydro in that they get an interest-free loan for the home that is going to be serviced, that is going to be provided with geothermal energy. They're able to hire and train people from the local community that does not have enough jobs for its population. So then the local community can determine how will this work best for the community. They are paid to install, maintain, and repair the geothermal systems. And the users, the homes that have geothermal installed, now have an energy bill that is significantly lower. It's so significantly lower that Hydro can still charge the principal, they get repaid on that loan, but the cost to the people living there is still lower than before geothermal was installed. So they're able to reduce their energy bills immediately, and in the 15 or 20 years it'll take for that loan to be repaid, once that loan is repaid, then their energy bills go down again because they're no longer paying that loan. In that way, Aki Energy can reduce the environmental impact of using fossil fuels as heating, while also reducing the social impact of poverty on reserves or other northern communities. Now, because they're working with northern communities, they know what the problems are there. And when we're talking about communities, often we need to be in it to understand fully what the social problems are. And they found that food was drastically expensive in the northern store. Things like, I've been told examples such as a 4-liter milk would cost $20, $25 because it had to be flown in. So food was wildly out of the normal price range we'd expect here in Winnipeg. And so they set up to start a new division called Aki Foods. So they developed greenhouses, food production to work in northern communities that don't have easy access to logistics. So where otherwise you have to fly food in, if you can set up a greenhouse or a chicken coop so that the community can produce its own food, you can reduce the transportation cost. You can reduce the environmental impact of flying milk in from Manitoba, from Winnipeg. And the community itself can become more financially independent because there's somebody local in charge of the store. They're able to earn an income You have people working the greenhouse and the chicken coops, as seen in the bottom right here. And you have people who are generating income through the sale of the food. It creates more of a local economy through the entrepreneurship that is developed of the people who are left in charge of these facilities once they're built. And Aki Foods helps to create and facilitate the local takeover of these businesses once they're set up. And so through these initiatives, they're able to create local independence by encouraging entrepreneurship within these communities and mixing the models so that there is both financial gain for the community, it is cheaper for the users, there's income being generated for the people working in it, and it lowers the cost. Now, within this, we were talking about communities. And here in Manitoba, we have an excellent community of social enterprises, business-to-business community, if you might consider it that way. And this community has had some excellent effects. I host a every other week meetup between social enterprises and people working alongside social enterprises. And those connections have led to fantastic new collaborative work between these social enterprises. For example, Mayfair Innovations, Build, and Purpose Construction, they all work in broadly the same field. They do retrofits, they do environmentally resilient construction. So things like improving insulation in homes, things like turning over Manitoba housing units between tenants. By working together, they're able to take on more and larger work than they could as individuals or as smaller organizations. They found out that they had this potential synergy when they were in the meetup. There was an opportunity where they happened at the same table and they realized that there's a job that one of them couldn't bid for on their own. But with the combined effort of all three, that community built a partnership that was able to take on bigger jobs, which is now leading to more people with barriers to employment being trained in construction and entering the industry. So the organizations are more self-sustaining by being able to access bigger jobs, more revenue-generating jobs. So it's self-sustaining. It's not reliant on the grants that might be for other training initiatives. And they're able to shift more people from not having an income, not having a regular job. They're able to train them up and get them into the construction industry. This local community also supports the individual entrepreneurs within the network. We often have situations where people just need access to a certain kind of information, and somebody else invariably in the network will know someone or will have the information that's needed for them. And so in that way, the community, it builds itself up. It builds up the people within it by improving our strengths, by using the things we're good at and applying it in places where it can create an advantage. And within this community, by creating this network, we have, on the whole, a better understanding of the needs of our communities. Because we have more people involved in different sectors. We have some people who are involved in social housing. We have some people who are involved in food production, some people who are involved in transportation. With this multifaceted way of looking at things, we can better respond. We have better information to create new initiatives, to be able to see opportunities where they exist, to create new social enterprise initiatives that both affect the community and can create positive revenue. And it's in using that entrepreneurial lens that we're able to make and scale these initiatives that might otherwise be a nonprofit program dependent on a 2-year grant. But because we don't have to wait on those grants, we don't have to rely on them for continuing funding, these initiatives can be started and continue independently. Now, local communities in a business-to-business or practitioner-to-practitioner way, they're great, but there's also an opportunity to take these social impact businesses or social enterprises and create a community of the people who access them. Because if, let's say, there's a social enterprise that works on promoting fair trade, which was prominent for the last 20 or 30 years, there's lots of people who care about those initiatives. They attach to the social values that are being promoted and encouraged through these social enterprises. And in that way, we can create online communities, we can create letter writing campaigns. There's ways of bringing these people in a distributed fashion together to create pressure for positive change. And especially if we're talking online communities, they are much more accessible. They're easy to join for an individual. They're time independent. You don't need to determine one time for everyone to get together. Instead, you can send a message and people can respond in different time zones from different geographies. It allows you to have a global reach by making these communities online. And once you have enough people, and enough will depend on your industry, it might be as few as 20 or as many as a couple thousand, hundreds of thousands. Once they're joined into this community, you have access to them and you can use them to help mobilize larger change. And by having this community, you get feedback a lot more quickly and you can respond to community needs in different areas that you might not know about otherwise. So online communities exist in a variety of ways. There's Social Enterprise World Forum, there's Future of Good. Social Shifters is one that has both a Canada branch and one based in Scotland. Acumen, it hosts a community to help connect people with social impact funding. And there are communities of practice all over the place that use these same effects to try to amplify and promote these social initiatives. We can also think about it from a social media pressure angle. If you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge from about 8 or 10 years back, they were an initiative that was trying to raise money and awareness to deal with ALS, a degenerative muscle disease. And it was through social media effects to activate communities that they didn't even necessarily have themselves and create that social pressure to do something. For some people, that social pressure is to do a fun social media video. But for others, it's the pressure of, should I care about this issue? And encouraging others to do the same, encouraging others to start donating towards potential solutions to this disease. And because of that social media pressure, those social media distributed communities, impact was able to happen. So you can take those ideas from both nonprofit angles, from business angles, and you can use those network effects, those market effects, and push towards positive change together with the force of more people, with the social pressure that comes with a certain critical mass. So I've got a couple links and resources here of other examples of social enterprises and how they make positive change, because there's so many different ways that the market forces interact and how social impact can be embedded into them that I wanted to include a couple more here. From Europe, there's an organization called Fairphone. They are changing supply chains of the electronics industry. A whole industry is being modified because of their efforts to demand better working conditions from their suppliers, specifically in mining. They're demanding that, let's say, the gold that's going into their phones has some social impact measurement being done. Simply by demanding that there be measurement from their suppliers has forced suppliers to post that measurement. And when a supplier is posting a measurement, all of a sudden other producers will begin judging them based on that. They'll begin marking them based on their score. And so, while they themselves are a relatively small phone manufacturer, by demanding those measurements, other larger phone companies have begun doing the same. Because now that it's measured, they can be called on it. And other manufacturers and mines do the same. Compost Winnipeg is a local example. They've worked at making it really easy to do compost pickup, to reduce organic waste, and to be paid for that pickup. And because of their work, they're showing that it's viable. And the city of Winnipeg is currently going through the process to see if municipal pickup paid for by the city is going to be viable. Last I heard, there's going to be a pilot for a couple specific neighborhoods to see if there's going to be public uptake on this municipal pickup. But through Compost Winnipeg's work, they've been able to go from a couple thousand households receiving compost pickups to entire neighborhoods as paid for by the city. And finally, Daffy is an Amsterdam-based beverage company. They sell a coffee alternative that uses roasted date pits as the main ingredient. They're able to take these date pits, which is considered a waste product from other industries like energy bars. They use the date fruit, but the pit then is just thrown away. It is garbage to those companies. But Daffy can take what is considered waste to others and use it to create a new product. And through that, they're looking to reduce the waste of the other industries themselves, but also to reduce the environmental impacts of coffee production. Because the coffee production, it takes lots of land, it takes lots of water, and it's cutting away rainforest land as it goes through soil degradation. So they're looking to create an alternative that makes it easier for people to drink a beverage that has the same social feel as coffee, but doesn't have some of those negative effects from coffee production. And so I've also included a couple of resources. If you would like to start considering what social entrepreneurship could look like for you, I have a video series on the social business model canvas, a relatively simple tool to help sketch out, is there a business model that can create value and can sell that value to customers or clients? And is there an opportunity for social value to be created in that market loop? And I'm also, if you'd like to learn more about what it's like to work in social entrepreneurship locally, I'll be hosting a panel on March 5th called Open Book in partnership with SEDNet. It is a community problem-solving panel where the social enterprise leader, the social entrepreneur from Salome, who currently runs the 3 or 4 social enterprises that they have, including a laundry service, they're going to be presenting problems that they encounter, day-to-day operational things that they have to deal with, from how do you properly support people who have barriers to employment? How do you properly support people who maybe have a lack of housing or might be struggling with addictions while they are getting settled into their job? They might be talking about how to balance that social impact with revenue generation, or how to earn new customers. These are likely conversation topics to come up, and we're going to have 3 advisors speaking into those situations, talking about how can we as a community find better solutions to both these business problems and to these social impact problems. And we'll follow with a workshop to apply those lessons into other organizations. So you can search Open Book and SEDNet to find that workshop. I think now would be a great time if we have any questions. If you've been in the audience for this and you have a question about social entrepreneurship, about how it can be used for social impact, how business models, if you have one that you're thinking about, how that might have social impact embedded into it, or how you can use communities to affect that social change, those would be great questions I'd love to discuss. Looking forward to continuing the conversation. Ben?
Yes, thank you so much. Lots of good information in here. I liked how you've put this chart from the for profit to the non-profit and on the scale. I think most of us are visual people, and we like, yeah, that is the one, and we like things that are visual and simple to understand. We do not have questions in Q&A, and I hope we will have some. But I do have a couple of questions. So being an entrepreneur myself, I'm curious, and like, being aware of all of the challenges that a typical entrepreneur is facing. It seems like being a social entrepreneur adds more of the very unique and specific challenges. Can you speak a little bit more about that? What are the a unique challenges that a social entrepreneur will have, and for example, just pure for profit will not, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time you add in uncertainty or things that are additional challenges, it's going to be harder. And I mean, we hear about people who are having trouble getting good employees. That seems like a regular discussion among businesses, let alone in social entrepreneurship when you are deliberately hiring people with barriers to employment and you know they're going to need extra training. You know it's going to be a little harder to work with them because they're perhaps not used to the working environment or they haven't held a stable job for 10 years. These are normal problems that should be solved, but they are more expensive. They take more time. They take more effort on the part of the staff. There's a discussion going on in social enterprise circles about outcomes purchasing. Because these challenges do cost more, there's a discussion about how can we sell that positive social impact that's being created? Can we put a financial value to another stakeholder for these problems? And with social impact measurement, we can. We can say, let's say healthcare. If there are 100 people that are regularly using an emergency room, they are coming back and they're costing the province millions of dollars because they need a warm place to stay, and showing up to the hospital is the best way to get that. Or they're stuck in addictions and they continue to come back and they take up hospital beds that cost thousands of dollars per day. Well, if your social enterprise is working on helping those people stabilize, get stable housing, get off of addictions, you can put financial value to the government on that. And there's discussion about taking that and making a partnership with the government, making a contract that says for every person that we can pull out of that recurring instance where they're not going to the hospital anymore just to keep warm, will you pay us this amount, which is less than it costs you if they were to keep going? And so in that way, it is possible to use a market mechanism that governments are used to purchasing to offset some of the additional costs that go along with those initiatives. And if we're talking internally, so we have, if we're doing that, employing people with barriers to employment, it's a very common impact in here in Manitoba. You're probably going to have to hire an extra trainer. You're going to need to spend more supervision time on the people who are working in your business. And anyone who's tried to do projections for how much will it cost to stay in business, what's the amount that we need to sell at what price, every added cost you add on, it makes it harder because your prices have to go up, your unit costs go up, and balancing that is one of the big, exciting challenges of social entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting that you actually answered my next question by doing that, because yeah, it's all about balancing the numbers and getting more incoming than outbound, right? In order
Mm-hmm.
to become a sustainable. And exactly like you said, like many people are not aware of added cost when we do stuff like that. So when we speak about the impact that a business is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Business people will speak and they will understand the language of numbers, bottom lines, margins and stuff like that. Some social enterprises, like in your example with the beds, you kind of easily measure, like, these are the people that you are taking out of the system, reducing the burden. But I can guess some other social enterprises will have harder time to measure the impact. So can you give me an example of one social enterprise that doing a good job, but they had hard time to measure the impact and how they eventually did it?
Mm. Yeah. Okay. There's a group called Sun Certified Builders here in Winnipeg. They're
Okay.
a housing building co-op. So they're like any other home builder. They have to purchase the space or be hired to build on some piece of land. And their unique impact is building homes that are energy neutral. It costs very little to run these homes. So low flow toilets, we're talking very energy efficient walls, which to an individual homeowner is easily measured. On a citywide scale, it's very difficult to measure the impact that's going to have on a neighborhood, because then we're talking about interacting with electrical grids. We're talking about interacting with sewer systems and water provision. So they have a very easy time saying to a homeowner, if you choose us as your builder, you're going to pay less on energy because it's going to take, like, they had an example home where they were able to heat the whole home all winter with a hair dryer instead of using a
Oh,
furnace.
wow. Okay.
So to the homeowner, it's very clear what that impact's going to be. But if they were to try to scale up and move to building, do neighborhood scale developments with their systems, then it's going to be difficult to measure how does this affect the electrical grid? How does this affect sewer systems? Because governments aren't used to necessarily assuming that houses are going to be net neutral or so low impact on
Mhm.
the municipal systems. And so they're working on aggregating the data. They're working on figuring out how to present that information in a way that makes sense to larger entities. But to this point, they're focused on the individual because that's the easier measurement to give.
Mhm. Okay, that's an interesting example, and yeah, when you are looking on a particular case, it's always easier because you know the data is on the palm of your hand. But then if you are looking on a kind of larger system, all of a sudden all of the variables are jumping in, right? So for our listeners and our future listeners, um, if somebody is interested in social entrepreneurship and they want to make a change uh, on the scale that we have in front of us right now, right?
Mhm.
What do you think is a better entry point? Because each one of these five will have specific subsets of challenges and
Mhm.
complications, but in your opinion, if I'm seeking to make a difference in the world around me, which one of these five will be like a better start?
Now, I'm going to respond to your question with a very consultant answer of it depends. Uh, it's going to take looking at your environment. It's going to take a lot of introspection. What kind of system could you personally, if you're going to be the leader of the organization, what system can you work within? Like, do you enjoy having a board who advises and pushes you? Then maybe incorporating as a nonprofit and selling that way with a mix of grants and earned income, being an enterprising nonprofit might work well for you. Or if you know that you've got a little bit of a control freak tendency, you want to be in control of what happens, you want to be able to pivot quickly, then incorporating as a for profit, figuring out what small impacts you can start with and adding impacts on as you scale, or figuring out which ones align with the business model, that might be the way to go.
Mhm.
If you want to look at other more structured examples, you could look at joining and getting a B Corp designation or a Buy Social Canada designation. They're two um, not quite regulators. They give the stamp that you qualify within their measurements
Mhm.
for your policies regarding environment, regarding how you treat staff and how you treat customers, how you interact with governments, all of those different governance elements and policy elements. They help to provide a scoring system or a threshold that you have to meet in order to say, yes, you're doing social enterprise. You are mixing impact and business, and it allows you to have people that will push you to both do business well and within that business to make some social impact.
Mhm.
And another thing I'd like to add for anyone who's looking to get into this, start with a small impact. because it's really easy to get stars in our eyes and say, we're going to do everything for everyone. We're going to be the thing that changes the whole world all at once. But most often, change doesn't happen that way. Find something that really links well with the business model. Like if you're working in tech and you have a particular audience that you're working with, let's say it's with media and you're working with people who are storytellers, you're working with people who are editors, they know technology, but they might not necessarily feel like they fit in. Find something that works with that audience. What do they care about in that community? What is the social impact that's necessary? It could be connection. It could be workplace skills. It could be an opportunity to share and promote each other's work. There are ways we can tie that impact in with the core value that we're providing already as a business. Find the things that align and push in on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good answer. Thank you so much. I just check out. We do not have questions in the chat, so I'm curious to hear more about the social business model canvas, but I don't know if it fits into our current conversation. Maybe we will keep it for later.
Yeah, maybe I'll come back.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, it is a very important subject, and I believe that people that understand it better need to be highlighted to bring the perspective and to once again to demystify it, right? Because some people and I've seen people on both of the sides. Some people are thinking that entrepreneurship, it's all about money, and social aspects are not very connected to it, and and they're on this side, on the left side in here, probably, right? Some people are saying, okay, well, if I'm for a good cause, I don't care about the money, and I want to promote the cause and stuff like that, and they do a poor job doing that without realizing that systems are needed, and it needs to be sustainable model, and business models are, generally speaking, more sustainable. So anyways, yeah, no, I will be curious to continue the conversation with you, and I'm sure we will have more chats and more talks with you, and with some of your clients or some of your connections to bring them in here. And yeah, so once again, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate the time, and I really appreciate the willingness to jump in and help. And yeah, and please don't yes, like Melinda says in the chat, don't forget, for the audience, don't forget to register for the upcoming events. The one with David Seagal is going to be a very important for us, and we are looking forward for a very interesting conversation. So please go check us out. Please reach us out if you have any questions about social entrepreneurship, about entrepreneurship in general. And we are looking to hear from you, and we are looking to see each one of you going forward. Thank you so much.